What's something you were embarrassed about that you embrace now?
That's hard. I used to actually be very embarrassed about dancing and, just that industry in general, like, has, like, totally, my life has changed and I've grown from it and so many different things. So I used to be embarrassed about it when I first started, and now I just embrace it because it's a part of my journey.
And just for the record, how long were you exotic dancing for?
I was dancing for 4 years, and I just retired in December, right before the pandemic happened.
So the pandemic wasn't the cause of retirement?
No, I was like, I'm done with this. My lease actually was ending in Atlanta, here in Atlanta, and I just thought, oh, like, instead of signing another lease, maybe this is like, I was already getting tired, and I was like, maybe this is like a wake up, like, just go home. So I ended up moving down to where my mom lives now in Phenix City, just to be closer to family and just be done with it. I was just done. Like, I just came to like a point in my life where I was just like, I'm done with this.
What was it about it that you were done?
Just being around the drugs and the men that just don't really respect you, and just being around like the same shit of just, you go to work, you have to be in like a great mood, and you have to kind of put on this front to make money. And sometimes I'm not in the damn mood. You know what I mean? Like, when I'm in the mood, that's whenever I want to go. But it almost is like you can't help, like, when you have to go to work, as far as, your certain lifestyle requires a certain type of income. So then you're kind of forced to go into work when you don't want to go to work to deal with your lifestyle. So it just got to the point where I was just like, I'm done with this disrespect, and I'm done having to work to keep up this lifestyle. I'm done being around the drugs. I'm tired of being around the drama. I was just overwhelmed. I was like, I'm done. Like, this is not what I want to do anymore.
Did you ever indulge in drugs yourself?
I did. I did. I went through a pretty rough patch in my life, which is, something that I'm not that proud of. But, I mean, it was a part of my journey, and it helped me see through so much of the bullshit. It just helped me realize that, like, depression and stress and mental illness is serious. And, like, that's one of the reasons I kind of turned to it.
What drug?
I was addicted to cocaine. That was it. Oh, I never was into pills. I never was into like the hardcore shit besides, coke. And that was just because I would go to work, and like, if you didn't want to party, you weren't getting paid. So it just kind of came like a habit of every time I was at work, I was like, oh my God, here it goes again.
You've quit that though.
Yes, I'm very sober. I'm so proud of myself. I'm very sober. I don't do anything anymore, actually. I don't smoke weed. I don't snort cocaine. I'm not drinking like I was. I'm not partying like I was. I just have a drink every now and then with family if I go out, and I have no problem. Like, I don't think about turning back to it. Nothing.
Was cocaine the only drug that you had an actual addiction to?
Yeah. It wasn't, yes, cocaine was the only one. It was never pills, never anything else. The only thing that I'm grateful for is that I wasn't addicted to cocaine like at home or like waking up. It was just simply at work. It was just doing it all night, and like that's still an addiction. It's like, as soon as I would walk into work, that's just like what the job almost kind of required. And if somebody says no, then that's bullshit, because where I worked and my customers demanded that. Like, if you don't want to party, then get out. So, I don't know. I'm just glad I'm out of all of it, but I haven't relapsed at all.
Do you remember how you first were introduced to cocaine?
Yes, I do. I was at a casino in Biloxi with the guy that I was in a relationship with that was married. And I didn't know he was married. But he had it, and I was like, what is that? And he was just like, you don't need to do it, you don't need to do it. And I was just like, okay, like, what is that, though? I've never seen it, never heard of it. Like, I was like, what the hell is that? And then, so he's at the casino gambling. 12 hours later, I'm like, hey, I'm getting tired. And he keeps telling me, like, no, stay, no, stay, no, stay. And I'm like, I'm getting really tired. He's like, fuck it, do this. It'll keep you up. And I'm like, oh, this is the shit that you do. He's like, yeah. And I do it. And then it was just kind of over with from there.
When you say over with, what do you mean?
Well, I just had tried it. So every time I was around him, he was like, hey, do a line. And then, of course, my life, whenever I stopped dating him, I was good. And then when I went to the club, then it started. Because I was like, oh, I know what this is. And they were like, you want to do a line? And I was like, I'm not scared. I already know what this is. So yeah, let's go. Like, I got to stay up all night and work. You know, so it started from him. And then it was kind of through our relationship. And then whenever I was single, I didn't touch it. And then I entered another relationship, which is my second longest relationship, and I didn't touch it at all. And then whenever, toward the end of our relationship, whenever we started getting rocky, it was like, oh God, I gotta work more because we're about to separate. And then that's when I started again, just to keep me up to work, you know? I was like, I'm about to be single, I'm about to be on my own again, like, let's go.
When you were first introduced to it, what age were you?
I was 21. Yep, I was 21.
And at the time you were introduced to it, had you already been exotic dancing, or was this before exotic dancing started?
I had started dancing when I was 20. Well, I started like bikini dancing, like in Florida where you have to keep your bikini on, at 19, and that was fine, but I wasn't introduced to it. Yeah, I danced. So 19, I danced in Florida, bikini bar. 20 is when I started in here at Oasis.
In Atlanta?
In Atlanta, right. And
So
then 21, I was introduced to it.
So prior to you being introduced to it by that guy,
Right.
you had never even seen it at any
Never.
of the clubs you worked at?
No, I'd never seen it in Florida at the bikini bar, and I'd never seen it at Oasis. And maybe I never seen it at Oasis because I was always on the floor dancing. I was never a VIP girl because I was still very new to nude dancing at 20 years old. So I would never go into the rooms. So I never knew what went back on back there because I was just like, just nervous to dance nude. So, and then of course, whenever I was introduced to it, then I was like, I mean, by this point, I'm just gonna go back in VIP. Now I kind of know what happens back there. It's just cocaine and a bunch of bullshit.
So how soon does an addiction to cocaine begin? I know you kind of gave the chronological order of when you used it, but my question is, because, you know, sometimes I wonder how instant of an addiction to a drug does one start to begin in essence of that drug? So is it an instant addiction? It takes a couple lines to get to form, or?
For me, I think it's, for me, I never really liked it at first. I just know I just always was up and I didn't really like it. But for me, I think it became an addiction when I couldn't go to work without it. And that was months later. I mean, I would always do it there. Like I wouldn't never be like, I need a bag to go to work. So for me, it was months. And then it just became a habit because it was always around me. And then I knew, like when I started not being able to drink without it, then I was like, okay, this is serious. But that took like a couple months. I would say like 3 or 4 months before I was like, I need this to work.
When it became an addiction, who would you get it from? How would you get it?
I mean, dealers. I'm just dealers. They're everywhere.
So not hard to find.
No, it's roaming through Atlanta like nothing. It's roaming through Atlanta like every other drug, I guess. It's everywhere though. It's in every city. Any city I've been to, it's not hard to find.
Now, looking back at the actual addiction, how long do you think you were actually addicted to cocaine for, usage-wise? When it came to that point of, okay, you need it every time you
I mean, it was like
go to
4
work.
and 5 days a week that I was on it. So.
But how long do you think that period of time lasted for you, overall speaking?
From those 4 to 5 days a week to like the time period of me working?
Well, no.
It was like a year.
The time period of the actual addiction, how long do you think that lasted?
Oh, a good solid, like, full year. I mean, it was like a long, tough, just absolute insane year. And then I just knew, like, eventually I was like, I'm just so depressed. Like, this is why, that's another reason I would turn to it. Like, whenever I would be like, okay, I'm going to stop, I'm going to chill. Like, I'm depressed. I'm like, just things that would happen in my life of me being like, is this my fucking life? And then I just would turn back to it.
Now, how were you able to finally stop?
I
Give me
just
those details.
I just got alone with myself, and I had to look in the mirror and, like, say, like, this is not you. Like, you're acting different. I was just, like, acting different. I didn't really want to talk to anybody or be around anybody, and that's when I knew I was like, you have to fix yourself. I was just very quiet. I went through a very, like, I was alone because I felt alone because I pushed everybody away. So that's where I learned to be like, you're only alone because you're pushing people away. Like, if I need help, like, I know I can ask somebody, hey, I need help. And so that's how I pulled myself out of it. I went to my family, my sisters, and I was like, hey, this is my lifestyle and it fucking sucks. Like, and I'm getting emotional.
Take your time.
It was a very, very hard time for me. But let me get myself together.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay. It was a very emotional time for me, but thank God I had my sisters. I reached out to them and I was just like, hey, this is what I have going on. Like, and I feel alone and I keep turning back to it because I feel alone, but I know I'm not alone. So I just reached out to them and I explained it the best that I could, and they were like, you're definitely not alone. Thank God you came to us. And yeah, they helped me through. They supported me. They were just there for me, and they were just like, tell us all about it, talk about it, get it out, cry, like, be mad, and so yeah, I just kind of worked through it with my family and my friends, and I just realized that you have to get rid of friends that are doing the things that you don't want to do anymore. Like, it was worse for me because I was just like, damn, all my friends do this shit. Like, I'm not going to have any friends. Like, and I was like, fuck this. I don't care. I'll be alone, but I'll have an army behind me of people that do, want to see me get better.
When you say sisters here, you're referencing your biological sisters?
Yeah. I have 4 older sisters. One that I don't really talk to. There's some issues there. And then the 3 in between. I'm the youngest. But yeah, my 3 sisters, they're biological sisters. Yeah, they're always there for me.
And all 3 helped you with this?
Yeah, all 3. They would just send me text throughout the day like, hey, or they would say, let's go to lunch, or let's go to dinner, or let's do something different. Let's go bowling. Like, let's just pull you out of the lifestyle that you're in and what you're used to doing. Let's, like, adapt you to, like, reality. Because, I mean, without them, like, I don't know.
Care to share their names?
Yeah, so Jada, Jenica, they were the ones. And my mom, of course. My mom knew I was battling with addiction, so shout out to my mom.
Well, that was my other question, too. While you were going through the addiction, before you got with your sisters and the help there, did others know you were actually addicted to this? Did some of these friends that you mentioned know you were addicted, or they just knew, oh, you would take a line when they would?
No, they knew because they were right there with me. I mean, they were right there with me, like, in days that I didn't want to do it. I mean, they were like, oh, come on. And that's when I was like, y'all are not my real fucking friends. Like, I'm trying to stop this. Y'all know this. Y'all got a problem too. Like, somebody's got to stop this shit. So they knew, yeah.
Did anyone try to intervene or have some sort of intervention before you broke it to your sisters that you needed help?
Yeah, my sisters and my mom actually knew something was up. They were like, damn, like she's like distancing herself. Like there's something that's like odd. Like she's always out. Like they knew that I was trying to fill a void of unhappiness and depression with just things that I was dealing with emotionally, mentally, physically. They knew something was up. So they were going to have an intervention, but I mean, it was shortly after where I just came to them. They didn't even have time. I was just like, I'm going to reach out to my family. That's what they're there for.
And when you reach out to them, was this over the phone, FaceTime, or this was actually in person when you do this?
I think Jada was in person, and I think Jenica, my sister, was on the phone.
Did any of your sisters ever deal with a drug addiction themselves?
My sister Jenica, no. My sister Jada did a deal with addiction, and so she actually was like the most like comforting person that helped me through. Let me not mess my makeup up. She was probably the most comforting just because she I just never felt like she judged me. I always feel, I think I feel judgment from my family a lot. And I don't think that I feel judgment with my sister Jada at all, because I think it's because she's kind of been there. Let me get myself together.
It's okay. Take your time.
My goodness. No, I was messing my makeup up. I think I do not feel judgment with my sister Jada at all, because she kind of went through it, and she was more of the one to kind of explain how to pull yourself out, versus I think my sister Jenica, I don't think she knew exactly what to say. You know, she was just trying to be there for me as much as she could, but I don't think she knew like to the extent of like what my lifestyle or the drugs really did to one, you know?
What addiction did the sister that already had dealt with this?
Cocaine.
Oh, she's okay. Very.
Yeah, same.
Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was, you know, her younger days, of course, as well.
But it was something she overcame. She survived. Yeah. She beat.
She's been sober for 4, 5, 6+ years. I'm not sure the time. She's been sober for 6 years. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you actually quit, it was the flip of a light switch. It was cold turkey.
It was cold turkey. I was like, I'm done with this lifestyle. I'm done with drugs. I'm done with so many things that this has brought in my life, with the unhappiness and depression.
You mentioned in a previous segment when we were talking about your exotic dancing that you had done it for 4 years. Mm-hmm. So when you actually quit the cocaine addiction, was this after you quit dancing, or was this right before you quit dancing?
This was right before. I quit, I want to say, back in November, and I quit dancing right at New Year's. And that last month was a trigger, which is why it forced me to be like, fuck dancing. This is like a trigger for me, because I'm not strong enough to handle this. You know, I'm trying. When you're fighting off an addiction, you need to not be around people or things that are like, you need to not be around it or people that do it. I mean, and that just was hard within itself. That was hard within itself. So I was like, it forced me out of dancing, which is awesome.
When you speak of November, you're referencing 2019?
Yeah. Yeah.
And New Year's would have been 2020?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very recently. Now, I wasn't, when I was addicted, I would say that was 2018. 2019 was when I wanted to, and whenever I was working, if I was working in the club, because I didn't work that much in 2019. I was in the club 3 or 4 times a month. Like, I wasn't in there like that. So it wasn't, my addiction was back in 2018 where I could not help it. I just couldn't help it.
When it comes to exotic dancing,
Mm-hmm.
and what types of clubs, again, would you dance at? Were these white clubs, black clubs, Latin clubs,
It was a white
Asian
club.
clubs?
It was a white club. Mm-hmm.
All 4 years was a white club?
All 4 years. Yep.
In the white club, and was this one particular club you worked at, or would it be various white clubs?
It was various.
Okay.
Yeah. It was plenty.
Okay, so generally speaking here, with your history of dancing for 4 years in white clubs, what is the percentage of exotic dancers that would be sober working?
10%. I mean, the entire clubs, most of the girls are all fucked up. I mean, I don't blame them. Like, that shit's hard to do sober. Like, could you, like, really entertain somebody that you have no interest in, and you have to, like, I mean, it's like just like a job, you know? And I mean, I did it for that long, but it's hard to do it sober. It really is, especially whenever you crave respect and not attention. That's when it becomes like I gotta have a drink for this shit.
So was like a drug used to numb yourself in that setting?
Yeah, it just kind of numbs you. Like, it just kind of makes you be like, fuck it, let's get this money. And the drinking, of course, does too. When
you were hardcore on this addiction for a year, how much money do you think you actually spent on the drug itself?
Oh my God. I actually was thinking about this not too long ago. Because I was like, damn, like, my savings, like, could have been so much higher. I mean, I was probably spending, like, an 8 ball, like, a week. Let's see, like, 2, 4, 6, 8. I mean, 800 times 12 months.
800 times 12 is 9,600, so $10,000.
$10,000 a year on cocaine, yeah. Yep. It's pretty rough. That's shitty.
And it sounds like prior to you actually quitting the actual addiction, it sounds like there were times you wanted to quit on your own, or you tried to quit on your own.
Yeah, there several times. I mean, like, all the time. I would wake up and be like, I hate this. I never want to do this again. And then you go to work a week later, and I'm like, God, here it goes. Just wasn't strong enough. Tried to stop many times, yeah.
Never been arrested for it?
Never. Never been arrested for anything. Clean record, thank God. Thank God.
And did you suffer health issues during the addiction from it?
I mean, just as far as like the next day, you just kind of feel like you're in slow motion as far as like, I mean, things aren't as clear, if that makes sense, the next day. But I mean, I never had any like serious health risk or anything. My anxiety would be worse. But
was it always just snorting it up your nose?
Yeah. Never done anything else.
Would it ever cause a nosebleed?
Yeah, every now and then. Mostly like the next day, whenever you're in the shower and you're just kind of like, or like if you go to the sauna, like when I would go to the sauna, like my nose would just pour. And that was towards like the end of like the serious addiction towards 2018, to where I was doing it all the time, where I was just like, fuck this. This is just can't, like I'm going too hard. This is gonna go, I'm gonna end up dead, or like something crazy is gonna happen, or it's gonna get worse. That's when I was just like, when my nose started bleeding, that's when I was like, this is too much.
But never had an overdose?
No, never had an overdose, thank God. Never had an overdose. It's mostly just when I worked. Like, it wasn't a problem, like I said, at home or like out. It was literally at work. Like, that was the root to everything, which is why I don't do drugs and I don't dance anymore. Just two things I'm good on.
My last question when it comes to, well, two more questions.
Okay.
Okay, when you actually quit cold turkey, the turn of a light switch,
Mhm.
did you have any withdrawal issues?
Yeah, I did have withdrawal issues. I had more so of like headaches and mood swings, irritable, my anxiety like multiplied. And I just was depressed. I was like in a shit mood all the time. It was just very foggy. I just remember like months of just fogginess of like I really like my body really started relying on that to be happy and up. Like I'm like yeah, it was a load of everything when I stopped. And then once you get like to where you start to feel normal again, that's when you know like, okay, all right, this is like it's out of my system. I'm good. And I feel great now. I feel great.
You said no relapse. Was there almost a relapse?
No. I can actually say there was no relapse. There was no thought. There was no want. I feel so good and I'm so happy in my life that I don't even want to look at it. I think if honestly if even if it was in front of me, I would be like I'm good. Like just because it took away so many things in my life, like my happiness being the most important thing that it took from me. That I like when I look at it, I would just be disgusted. Like I'm good. Like my happiness is the most important thing to me. And so, nope, it's never almost happened. Not the slightest chance.
My last question to you with this is, it doesn't sound like you had any professional help in this at all.
I did not.
Why not that route?
Um, because I thought if anybody was going to be able to get to me, and it was going to be family. Because I just felt like, what type of fucking advice am I going to get from a stranger? Like, and some, and I don't know. In that particular moment, I knew just reach out to your family first. Maybe if my family wouldn't have been so comforting, I would not have minded to reach out for some type of help because I was dying for my happiness back. Like, so I would have, I guess, if my family wouldn't have been there for me. There's nothing wrong with getting professional help. I think mental illness is something that people really don't take seriously sometimes, and it's very serious. And like to actually something that I should probably mention is like that is why I'm moving to Dallas. Is like we're me and a business partner of mine is starting a show 100 to talk about things like this, like mental illness and like depression and anxiety, and how when you feel alone, you're not alone, and like just so many things that I've experienced that I want to talk about just like right now. So I'm excited about that because I have like such a shit story, and I'm just so happy now.
When you're speaking on mental illness, have you had any professional help with that? Not the addiction, but the actual.
No, never any professional help with that either. No,
Never been diagnosed with anything?
never. I can tell you I have anxiety 1,000%. I know I do.
Self-diagnosis?
Yeah, for sure. I know my anxiety is insane. And I've like researched how to help myself because I just don't want to reach out to get professional help. I just don't think that it's ever gotten to that point. I think that, and I'm grateful for that. It's never gotten to that point. I think as far as I would go is just family.
Are you open to professional help with the anxiety or no?
No, I feel like not unless it gets to the point where it was. I think that it was really bad, of course, when I was addicted. But now it's like I cope with anxiety. It's not that bad anymore. So I know that was, of course, the root to so many things, that being one. So I wouldn't seek professional help because I'm sober and happy now.